Guardians of the Ottoman Sultan. The Secret Lives of Ottoman Eunuchs. The eunuchs of the Ottoman Empire played a crucial role in the Sultan's palace, particularly within the harem, where they served as guardians, administrators, and intermediaries between the secluded women and the outside world. Their path to this position, however, was fraught with suffering and dehumanization. This article explores the journey of these eunuchs, from their castration to their roles in the harem, framed within 10 distinct sections. The origins of the eunuchs' journey began far from the gates of Istanbul. Many eunuchs were captured as slaves from regions in Africa, the Balkans, and other parts of the Ottoman Empire. African eunuchs, in particular, were often taken from sub-Saharan regions during raids or as part of the slave trade. European eunuchs, on the other hand, were primarily sourced from the Balkans, often boys captured in warfare or purchased from impoverished families. These boys had no idea that their destiny would lead them into the imperial harem. Once acquired by slave traders, the boys would face the horrifying ritual of castration. The procedure was brutal and often fatal. In some cases, entire communities of eunuch makers specialized in this grim task. The castration involved the removal of the testes, or sometimes even the entire genitalia, which was done without anesthesia or medical expertise. Many boys did not survive the ordeal, succumbing to infection or blood loss. Those who survived the procedure were considered valuable commodities and prepared for sale to powerful patrons, including the Ottoman court. After surviving the castration, the young eunuchs were sold in bustling slave markets across the empire. Cairo was one of the primary hubs for the trade in eunuchs, especially those of African origin. European eunuchs were more frequently traded through markets in the Balkans. The highest bidders were often representatives of the Ottoman elite, seeking eunuchs for their homes or for the Sultan's harem in Istanbul. The price for a eunuch depended on his age, health, and perceived usefulness. Those destined for the harem were considered a cut above the rest. The white and black eunuchs. The eunuchs who made it to the Ottoman court found themselves divided into two primary groups: black eunuchs and white eunuchs. Black eunuchs, primarily of African origin, were typically given more prominent roles within the harem, including as the chief guards and administrators. White eunuchs, who were of European or Caucasian descent, were generally employed in less influential roles within the palace. The head of the black eunuchs, the chief black eunuch, Sluragas, wielded enormous power and influence within the court and was one of the most trusted figures in the Sultan's household. The chief black eunuch was the gatekeeper of the harem. His role was both administrative and symbolic, serving as the primary liaison between the Sultan and his harem. This eunuch had access to the Sultan's inner circle and carried immense political clout, managing the flow of information, gifts, and people between the harem and the outside world. While the Sultan ruled the empire, the chief black eunuch ruled the harem, often influencing decisions of state due to his proximity to the Sultan and the women who wielded their own soft power within the palace. Life within the harem for the eunuchs was far from glamorous. Their roles varied from administrative tasks to menial labor, ensuring the smooth functioning of the secluded world of the Sultan's women. They were responsible for everything from delivering messages to managing the Sultan's secret affairs. Despite their proximity to power, eunuchs were often isolated, forbidden from having families of their own. Their castration not only removed them from the physical world of desire but also from the emotional bonds that come with family life. Their entire identity became one of servitude. While eunuchs were technically servants, many rose to positions of power within the palace, using their unique status to manipulate court politics. Because they were seen as neutral, Lacking familial ties and sexual desires, they were trusted with sensitive information and often became intermediaries between the Sultan and his ministers. Eunuchs could make or break alliances, arrange marriages within the court, and even influence the line of succession by supporting certain women or princes in the harem. They played a dangerous game of palace intrigue, balancing loyalty to the Sultan with their personal ambitions. Despite their influence within the palace, eunuchs were often treated with suspicion and contempt by those outside the court. Their status as castrated men led many to view them as unnatural or even cursed. In popular culture and folklore, eunuchs were often depicted as sinister or conniving figures, manipulating their way to power through deceit. This paradoxical status, powerful within the palace but despised by broader society, created a complex psychological world for the eunuchs, who had to navigate both reverence and ridicule. As the Ottoman Empire entered its final centuries, the power of the eunuchs began to decline. Westernization, coupled with internal reforms, reduced the influence of the harem and, by extension, the eunuchs who managed it. The gradual decline of the empire and the modernization of its institutions meant that eunuchs were no longer seen as essential to the functioning of the court. By the late 19th century, the role of eunuchs in the palace had diminished significantly, and with the fall of the Ottoman Empire in the early 20th century, the institution of eunuchs disappeared altogether. Although the practice of using eunuchs in the Ottoman court is long gone, their legacy lingers in the cultural memory of the region. Eunuchs have been immortalized in literature, art, and folklore, often as enigmatic figures who lived on the margins of society yet wielded great power behind the scenes. Today, their story serves as a reminder of the complexities of power, gender, and servitude in one of history's most enduring empires. The eunuchs of the Ottoman harem stand as a testament to the strange and often brutal intersections of power, exploitation, and survival.